Hey, it's Miss Renzi, and I'm here today to do with you our lesson, Ancient Rome, the Fall of Rome, and I have that scheduled to happen on June 17th and June 18th. Okay, let's get started. So first we're going to start with a vocabulary preview because there's two words that I just want to make sure that you know because they're in the slides and the reading a lot. I'm going to go through the basics of how Rome ended with you. Rome ended. Spoiler alert, Rome is not still going on, it ended. And then we're going to watch a brain pop called The Fall of Rome, and I'm going to preview today's work. So the vocabulary preview is two words that many of you may already know, but I just want to be sure that you know them. So internal, it means that something happens on the inside. So if someone says it's an internal threat, it means that the threat is coming from inside the building. You probably have heard that in action movies. If you're talking about your emotions, they're internal, right? If we're talking about something that you're saying outside or acting out, that's external, which is the second word, something that happens on the outside. So for example, if a medicine is for external use only, it means don't eat it or drink it, right? If there's a cream, don't eat the cream, right? Spread it on your rash, right? So if you've ever used Neosporin or hydrocortisone, you know that those are for external use only, right? For the outside. So internal is inside, external is outside. So Rome. We're going to study the ending of the Roman Empire. How did it end? Well, the first thing I want you to know is that it wasn't sudden or unexpected. It was an event that occurred and it was hundreds of years in the making, and it had a lot of different causes, and people are still arguing about what those causes are. But there are three causes that pretty much everybody who's studied Rome agrees, because nobody really knows, but they agree probably led to the ending of this empire that was so fantastic and amazing, right? Okay, so the simple way of kind of envisioning this is if you think about a balloon. Like if you're a kid and you're blowing up a balloon bigger and bigger, you know that, sorry that was so loud. A lot of technical difficulty here, but if you blow up a balloon, you know that you can't blow up a balloon forever. Eventually, it is gonna pop on you, right? So that's what happened to Rome, right? So Rome was like a balloon. It's like a kid blowing up a balloon bigger and bigger and not accepting that a balloon is only supposed to expand to a certain size. Eventually, you're gonna put too much air in the balloon and it's gonna pop. So that was what was happening to Rome. It was getting bigger and bigger and expanding, and eventually the pressures of getting that large just caused it to pop and explode. Okay, so what are the three main reasons for the fall of the Roman Empire? Well, the first one was attacks from barbarians, and I have this picture of this scary looking barbarian for you. Um, what does this mean? Well, the Romans were constantly getting their territory expanded. So in doing that, they fought a lot of wars and they killed a lot of people and they made a lot of enemies. And as they expanded, their ability to man and defend all that territory was really tested. There were gaps in between forts, right, that got bigger and bigger. And the farther you were from Rome, the longer it took to get supplies and troops and orders. You know, what should I do? These guys are trying to attack the fort. Should I attack them back? Should I defend? Should I do something else? It took longer and longer to get your orders from your general, right? But it also took longer and longer to get supplies. And because there was a longer distance, there was more of a chance that someone would attack your supply line and steal all your food, all your drinking water, all your weapons. So there'd be these Roman soldiers who were stuck out in the middle of what they thought was the wilderness, and they get stuck out there with no food because their supply chain has been attacked by barbarians. I keep using the air quotes around barbarians because it's kind of a fake word. It's a word that just means someone has a beard. The Romans thought that any foreigner who had a beard was a barbarian. So like this horrible, messed up, uncivilized person, right? And the people who were attacking the Romans were not uncivilized. They just didn't want them in their land, right? And they happen to wear beards, so they're barbarians. As the Romans expanded, they did a good job at first of holding those lines, but eventually it just got too much for them. And they were particularly troubled by the tribes from what we call Germany, but it basically means like all of Europe. And they had names like the Vandals, the Barbarians, and the Goths. So all names that mean kind of like dark, scary things now, but they're just the names of different people who were attacking the Romans. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is simple, bad emperors. So the Romans never came up with a good system for transferring power from one emperor to another. It was never as simple as dad dies, son takes over. It would have been a much more simple system. But the Romans, they just kind of waited till the emperor died, and then whoever felt like being emperor would sort of step in. And so what that meant was if you became emperor, you had a really high chance of being murdered by the person who wanted to replace you. So I just have 4 pictures of some of the most famously bad emperors. The guy on the top who has kind of like the long veil on, that is Caligula, notoriously awful. This other guy on the top is Nero, also not a good guy. And the guy on the bottom with the curly hair is named Commodus. Terrible emperor. And then the other guy who looks like really snarly, has a kind of a bent nose, he's Caracalla. So these were 4 of the worst emperors. They were particularly cruel or illogical or even insane. But there were lots more. There were lots of bad emperors. And that is why there was a lot of bad decision making, bribery and stealing, people who just made crazy decisions. Like Caligula tried to make his favorite horse into a senator. Like he made the horse go to the Senate, and he made all the senators listen to the horse. Like, good ideas, horse. Like some of these guys were really crazy. Nero had a concert where he was playing the violin, the fiddle, and there was a huge fire all around Rome, and he made the people in the theater continue to listen to him play the fiddle while their houses burnt down. He wouldn't let them go to like rescue their families. He made them sit and listen to him play the violin for like 4 hours. These guys were nuts. Okay. The third big problem is more money, more problems. So basically, this was a problem that was about the fact that the Roman Empire was spending more money than it was collecting in taxes. And when the emperors didn't have enough money to pay their bills from taxes, they would just print more money. So they would just make more coins, right, to pay their debts. The problem with that is it causes inflation, which if you've never heard of inflation, it means that the more money you print, the less that money is worth, right? So they'd say, okay, I owe $10, I only have 5. Well, I'll just print $5 more worth of coins, but that makes all the coins out there worth less, right? That's called inflation. And it's why your parent might say to you, oh, when I was a kid, a Hershey bar was only 50 cents and now it's $1.19. That's inflation. So the more money that the Roman emperors printed, the more their money was inflated, and everything cost more money. And they still didn't have enough money to pay their bills. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and watch this brain pop. I'm going to play it in the video, and I'm probably going to get off the screen so that you don't have to awkwardly watch me watching a brain pop. So I'm not logged in, so I definitely have to log in before it's going to let me play the video. Should have done that before I started recording. Okay. Here we go. Let's get back to that video. Follow the Roman Empire. And there it is, Tim and Moby.
Hey, you know how long it took me to build this? No, my friend, Rome was not built in a day. Dear Tim and Moby, what happened to the Roman Empire? From Lina. Good question, Lina. The answer is pretty complex. During the first 2 centuries of the Common Era, the Roman Empire was the most powerful force on Earth. It ruled the entire area around the Mediterranean Sea, and most of Western Europe, too. Yeah, they had a pretty good army, but that wasn't the whole story. Because this area was united under Roman rule, citizens could travel freely from one end of the empire to the other. New ideas and technology spread quickly, trade flourished, and the Roman economy grew strong. All right, I'm getting there. One of the major things that went wrong was plain old bad leadership. The government of Rome switched from a republic to an empire in the 1st century BCE during the reign of Augustus Caesar. Even though Augustus had tremendous power, he tried to preserve elements of the republic. He took advice from the Roman Senate, a governing council, and even held free elections. Not all future emperors did that, and the government power gradually slipped away from the people and into the hands of single, all powerful rulers. Often, these rulers made terrible decisions that were hard to reverse. Most historians think that the Roman Empire began its decline in 180 CE when a guy named Commodus became emperor. Commodus ruled as an all powerful autocrat, ignoring the recommendations of the Senate. Well, another major error was that no one ever came up with a reliable system for choosing Roman emperors. These guys had lots of rivals. As soon as one general became emperor, another general would assassinate or overthrow him. Between 235 and 284, the Roman Empire had more than 24 different rulers, most of whom died violently. Right you are. Most of the Roman army had been stationed on the borders of the empire. So when troops left their posts to fight one another, it left gaps and allowed invaders to sneak through and settle in Roman territory. As time went on, these settlers grew in strength while Roman forces got weaker. Of course, that wasn't the only issue. Rome also faced a lot of financial problems. Roman emperors often bribed their soldiers with money to make sure they remained loyal. And when emperors didn't have enough to pay their troops, they would mint cheaper coins. This caused the value of Roman money to plummet. It didn't help that many emperors stole from the treasury for their own personal gain and wasted huge sums of money on parties and festivals. Food shortages and high unemployment added to the economic woes, and crime, riots, and other kinds of civil unrest increased. Nope, didn't end there. In 284, the Emperor Diocletian realized that the empire could no longer be governed effectively, so he split it in two. He ruled the eastern half, and a general named Maximian ruled the western half. In 330, the Emperor Constantine declared Constantinople the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. This city became the center of the new Byzantine Empire, which remained an important force in the region for the next 1,000 years. Meanwhile, the western half of the Roman Empire, which contained the actual city of Rome, continued its decline. Yeah, military defeats led to the fall of Rome as well. Throughout its existence, Rome always had to deal with uprisings in different areas, as well as invasions from its neighbors. But as it declined, it could no longer face these threats effectively. By the 5th century, the Germanic tribes to the north and west were much stronger than the Roman army. In 476, the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustus, surrendered to a Germanic leader named Odoacer, and Roman rule officially came to an end. Well, that's a good point. Some people believe that Rome never fell. Its legacy is all around us, in our laws, in our approach to citizenship, and even in our architecture. Moby, I think that Rome has definitely fallen.
Okie dokie. All right, well, thank you for watching Tim and Moby. Now let's move back to the slides, and I will be previewing the work. So it's a Google form today. Let me show you the Google form, and I have it ready. I just have to pop. There we go. Okay, so it's called The Fall of Rome, and basically there's one reflection question and one reading comp question. So the reading comp question is the first one. It says, this question reminds me of when we studied lead poisoning in water this winter. Please explain the connection between this article and our project last winter about the environment. So you're going to read this, this article about another theory of why Rome ended, and then talk about the connection to your winter project about water pollution. And if you're like, what are you talking about, Ms. Renzi? Just read the reading and I think it'll be clear. The second one is a reading comprehension question in the sense that it relates to the slides in the brain pop, but I guess it's not reading comprehension so much as reflection. So it says, Did the Roman Empire fall because of internal problems or external problems? Explain. So obviously the answer is both. But if you could just pick to talk about one, internal or external, like whichever one you think was more important. Do you think that the barbarians were more a big factor, or do you think like the money problems and the bad emperors were more of a problem? It's asked for 2 to 3 sentences. Okay, so I think that's probably enough, and I am going to stop recording, and I hope that you have a nice day.